There's a wheelchair sitting in the middle of a garage. Empty now. Worn down. The kind of chair that tells a story just by the way it leans. Too many modifications, too many compromises, too many nights a little girl cried herself to sleep because sitting hurt and nobody could fix it. And there's a man kneeling beside it. No patch on his back. No club behind him. Just a father's grief handed to a stranger, and a stranger who chose to carry it anyway. By sunrise, 95 motorcycles would be parked outside that garage. And nothing would ever be the same. Welcome back to Iron Brotherhood Stories, where leather meets loyalty, and the road has its own kind of justice. Hit that subscribe button and ride with us. This one's going to stay with you. His road name was Ghost. 30 years on the road. A chapter presidency built on respect earned the hard way. Ghost had survived things that would break most men. But nothing had broken him the way that Tuesday afternoon did. It was a regular drive. His daughter Lily in the passenger seat, 7 years old, singing along to something on the radio. The truck ran the red light at 40 miles an hour and hit them before he even saw it coming. Ghost walked out of the wreckage. Lily didn't. Not the same way. The doctors used words like partial paralysis and long-term mobility challenges, clinical words that didn't come close to describing what it actually meant. What it meant was watching your daughter wake up every morning and reach for a life that was suddenly behind glass. What it meant was sitting outside her room at night, listening through the door, hearing the sounds a 7-year-old makes when she's trying not to let her father hear her cry. Ghost had money. He had brothers. He had connections across 3 states. None of it was enough. The chair had been modified 6 times in 2 years, each attempt well-meaning, each one falling short. The joints misaligned. The frame reinforced with the wrong materials. The seat angle pulled her spine forward in a way that made every hour feel like punishment. Lily had learned to smile through it. She'd learned to say, "I'm fine," the way kids do when they've already accepted that adults can't fix everything. That broke Ghost more than anything else. A man who had faced down rival clubs and buried brothers on the roadside, reduced to helplessness by a wheelchair that hurt his daughter's back. Then one of his oldest brothers mentioned a mechanic on the east side. Said the man could fix anything. Said he worked alone, charged fair, didn't ask questions. Ghost put on his cut. Told 6 brothers to ride with him. Elijah Carter had been invisible his whole life. Not literally. But in the way that matters, the way where people look right at you and don't quite see you. His garage sat on a forgotten strip between a scrap yard and a shuttered mill. The sign above the door had lost half its letters years ago. Nobody had bothered to fix it. He'd taught himself engines by sound before he ever touched a manual. He had a gift, genuine, rare, the kind of mechanical intuition that couldn't be taught, and he'd spent 30 years using it in a garage that most people drove past without slowing down. Customers came when they were desperate. They left when their cars ran. Most never said thank you. Some questioned his honesty, his prices, his competence, not because he'd given them reason to, but because they needed someone to doubt and he was convenient. Being a black man doing skilled work in a blue-collar city meant proving yourself twice to earn half the trust. Elijah never complained. He just kept working. Because what else do you do when the road only goes one direction? He heard the pipes before he saw them. 6 motorcycles. Full cuts. Road names on the bottom rockers. The kind of men who entered rooms and watched other people adjust. Elijah set his wrench down slowly. Kept his hands visible. He'd grown up knowing how fast a moment could turn when a black man was alone and outnumbered. He kept his breathing steady. Then Ghost stepped through the door last, pushing a wheelchair. Lily sat in it with her hands folded in her lap and that practiced smile on her face. The smile that said, "I've already made peace with this, so you don't have to feel bad." Elijah looked at the chair and it broke his heart before it said a single word. He could see everything wrong with it in under 10 seconds. The rear axle stressed at the wrong angle. The seat tilt pulling her spine forward by degrees that didn't sound like much until you understood what those degrees did to a child's body over 8 hours. The frame reinforced with materials that were close but not right, the kind of mistake made by someone who cared but didn't know enough. He thought about his cousin. The rig he'd built from scrap metal because the insurance company had decided a child's comfort wasn't worth the cost. He walked over. Knelt beside the chair. Looked at Lily, not at the chair, at her, and said quietly. "Can I take a look at this?" She nodded. And for just a second, behind that practiced smile, something flickered. Something that looked like hope she'd been careful not to spend too much of. Ghost said nothing. But his jaw worked, the way a man's jaw works when he's holding something in that wants badly to come out. They left the chair and said they'd return in the morning. Elijah worked through the night. He stripped it to the frame. Started over. Proper steel on the reinforcement. Axle reset to true center. Seat angle recalculated for Lily's exact height and weight, not a generic child, this child. He tested it again and again on the cracked pavement behind the garage, rolling it empty, listening for sounds that didn't belong. He used his own parts. His own money. His own hours. He thought about Lily's practiced smile. He thought about Ghost's jaw. He thought about what it means to be a father who can't fix the one thing that matters most. He finished before sunrise. Sat in the quiet with cold coffee and the particular exhaustion that comes from work that actually meant something. The sound started low and built like a storm finding its shape. Not 6 bikes this time. 95 motorcycles lined the street in both directions, 3 chapters, riders who had driven through the night because Ghost had made one call and the Brotherhood had answered. Men in full cuts, road-worn and steady, engines idling in formation. They didn't advance. They stood. Ghost stepped forward with Lily beside him. She rolled forward in the rebuilt chair. Smooth. Level. Upright in a way she hadn't been in 2 years. No bracing against pain. No practiced smile. Just her face, open and free, the way a child's face is supposed to look. She looked up at Elijah. It doesn't hurt anymore. 95 hardened men watched a mechanic with no patch receive the kind of recognition most riders spend a lifetime chasing. Ghost gripped his hand, not a handshake. A grip. The kind that carries meaning. You did right by my daughter. The Brotherhood doesn't forget. They kept their word. The Iron Cross MC became the garage's silent protectors. They funded repairs for families with nowhere else to turn. When the city tried to rezone the strip and hand the land to developers, Ghost sat in the back of the council chamber in full cuts with 40 brothers while Elijah spoke. The vote went Elijah's way. Lily grew up strong. She came back to that garage often, older, laughing, sometimes helping teach the Saturday morning kids how to use their hands for something real. She never forgot the night someone chose to care. Neither did anyone who was there. That wheelchair wasn't just a chair. It was a father's grief. A little girl's pain. A system's failure. And one man's decision, made alone, in the middle of the night, with no audience and no reward, to fix what was broken anyway. The Brotherhood showed up at sunrise because they recognized something in Elijah Carter that had nothing to do with patches or road names. They recognized the code. Protect the weak. Honor those who do right. Never look away from suffering when you have the hands to help. He'd been living it his whole life. They just finally showed up to say so. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Drop a comment. What would you have done in Elijah's position? Subscribe to Iron Brotherhood Stories. New stories every week. The road keeps going. So do we. Ride or die. No in between.